How well does a community take care of itself? According to a recent study, a single pound circulates in the Asian community for 28 days, in Jewish communities for 20 days, in white communities for approximately 17 days, and the black community, 6 hours. This is what we at the Black Wall Street UK desperately want to change. We've developed a unique mobile app called the Black Wall Street UK. This is a business directory for black-owned businesses all across the UK. With the Black Wall Street UK app, you can find any black-owned businesses around you with the tap of a finger. So next time you're searching for a nearby hair product store or a nail shop or an estate agent or any black-owned business or service provider, just do a super quick search on the Black Wall Street UK. Our app allows you to search by business type and location. You can save your favourite businesses, add your own black-owned business, read reviews from other clients and much more. The Black Wall Street UK, the entire UK black community at your fingertips. Free app now available on Apple and Play Store. www.thebblackwallstreetuk.com.
15 minutes with DJ Countryman and Rudi Lickwood. Saturday morning mayhem with two entertainment heavyweight. Join them with interviews, comedy and quizzes.
Child support money for you or something.
No chance to that, Babs.
No chance. Morning, darling.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Push. My internet's awful.
We got to be free. Just like these. Travel over land and sea. My people shall free. We got to be free.
Hello.
Like these.
Hello.
Travel
Say
over
hi
land
twice. Goodbye.
and sea.
Say hi 3 times.
DJ
You gone. He's gone, man. He's gone.
15 minutes with DJ Countryman and Rudi Lickwood. Saturday mornings, now I'll be the same again.
What you put me on this time of morning, you're going to scare everybody. They're going to be...
One second. Are you there, yeah?
Yes.
All right, bro. No. I was holding 2 conversations, actually.
Straight away, that, red flag, phone community, why? Are we the guinea pigs now?
This is not a corporate site. This is not a corporate thing. I'm not trying to appease anybody apart from the viewers who watch it. Yeah? Because further down the line, we're going to be covering areas and we're going to be saying things that's going to happen.
I guess you would say. I feel like when you are speaking up for yourself, it should be unapologetic and it should be honest. I think that we all have.
As this is the weekly roundup.
The guts are bubbling. We are proud to announce the launch of the first British black-owned search engine called Black Search. So if you're looking for anything related to the black community, whether that be bloggers, podcasters, news, history, business, black directories, marketplaces, products and or services, simply visit www.blacksearch.net and you will find whatever it is you are looking for.
Oh, I do believe that's your voice.
Yeah. I couldn't find nobody to voice it, so I had to do it myself. You know what I mean?
Oh. You're on your second coffee, in fact. Oh my God. Yeah. Listen, girl, I haven't even had a coffee. The thing is, if it wasn't for my daughter, I think I would have still been asleep because she had to go to school, so she came in to say, bye, Dad. And I was like, oh my God, if she's saying bye, that means that 8:15 is gone. Morning, Aston.
Morning.
How you doing, big man? Bless. You're blessed. You sound a little bit far this morning. You sound a little bit far. Turn up the volume a little bit. So we can all hear you loud and clear, man.
I don't know what's happened with these things.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm feeling your energy this morning, man. You're talking about, let's get on with this, Rudy.
No, I'll tell you what it is that I went and done my yoga session, so things are good. Things are good, brother.
Oh, you managed to get your yoga session in?
Well, but kind of. Some of the preparations what we're doing for my initiation, So
okay.
I was able to fulfill that part of it, and then rush back, sit up, and let's go. That's it, man. That's it. I'm looking forward to this one.
I think this morning is going to be quite interesting. I mean, we've got two guests who will be coming in this morning. We've got Daniel Pink from Ubuntu. Ubuntu. I keep on missing out that U for some reason.
Ubuntu.
I don't know why I keep doing that. I keep missing out that U. And it's going to be, I'm actually looking forward to talking to him. I mean, the project that he does is inspired by the challenges facing young people of African Caribbean heritage under the premise that they are more than capable of great things.
Yep, and the results are there, brother. The results are there.
Well, it's going to be interesting to hear the results that he's had so far. In fact, I can see that he's knocking at the door now, from what I can see. But before we get there, I think we'll say a few good mornings. Big shout out going out to Liz Harvey, also Carol Thompson.
Carol Thompson, is that the singer?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say, hold on.
Yeah, let me just fix up myself. Edit. I remember I used to her record. There was one record that she used to have out when I was a kid, man, and I remember I was in love for one of the first times when I fell in love. And when you play a record over and over and over again. Well, it wasn't even a record; it was a cassette.
Yeah.
It was a cassette. When you had to push the pencil in between into the hole. Yes, man. And spin it.
Rewind.
Yeah. And I used to play. I think if I was to play that, because I've still got the cassette today, mind you. Do you know what I mean? But I'm sure I'll hear a load of cracklings in it. I hear a load of crack.
I've got a load of cassettes. I wish I could. I can convert them, but it takes time. It takes time, innit?
It does. But yeah, I can see Daniel at the door. So let's bring Daniel in. Morning, Daniel.
Morning, sir. Morning. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm fine.
Morning, brother Aston.
Blessing, brother, man.
How you doing? Thank you for inviting me to be on your program, brother.
Yes, sir.
No, we're glad to have you. We're actually glad. We're actually glad to have you, and we're going to be We're going to be talking to you in more detail a little bit later. But I thought it'd be good to have you join us from the off. But first of all, I should tell everybody exactly who you are. This is Daniel Pink, ladies and gentlemen. He's the project director of Ubuntu Social Living Networks Limited. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And just give us a brief synopsis of what you do.
The brief synopsis of what we do is we work with the African Caribbean community, parents and children, to really kind of develop young people to recognize the potential within themselves, that they can be whatever they want to be and that they can achieve great things. And so for me, that's been the real driving force for me, because down here in Lewisham, in terms of the GCSE results for our children in Lewisham, 84% of our children can't get 5 GCSEs, A to C, including maths and English.
Whoa.
So, you know, that's the driving force. And the reality is, Brother Rudi, is that we as a people who are Africans who were taken from Africa and brought to the Caribbean islands and domiciled there and bought and then came here to England, we've always been operating from a back foot, and we've been doubting ourselves, questioning ourselves for a long, long time. And I got to a stage within myself where I've had to say, I don't need the approval of the white man to be who I am, and neither do we as a community. And so whatever it is that we have within inside us and we want to do or we want to make happen, we have the potential to do that without a shadow of a doubt. And so that for me is where Marcus Garvey is also right behind that philosophy, and also people like Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan, that we as a people can do whatever we want when we put our mind to it and choose to do it. That's how I see it, brother.
I see no reason for not thinking that way, in all honesty, but I can understand the indoctrination that we've gone through that has caused us to think and behave that way. I mean, when you take a language from a people, when you take a culture from a people, and then you re-educate them in a westernized philosophy, all of a sudden we're not thinking as Africans anymore.
I totally would agree with you. And so it's a reminder for our young people to kind of say to themselves, I am who I am and I can be what I want to be. And it's about making sure that we expose them to positive and constructive people who can support them in the things that they do. I think the interesting thing for me, Brother Rudy, is that I never believed in just doing like 6-week programs with young people. I worked with especially a cohort of young people for over 10 years straight. And so for me, it was about going through the process with them so that they can understand things, taking them to particular meetings and particular particular conversations that were being had, so that they were exposed to things, so that at the end of the day, they knew from the off what we meant to them and what they meant to us. So I think that's where, for me, it's about encouraging parents and uncles and aunts. You know, we can't just have the children, send them guys.
It's the village. It's got to be the village that's got to get behind the whole thing. And I'm gravitating to what you're saying more and more and more and more. And what we're going to do is we're going to go further into exactly how you go about that in a moment.
Yes, sir.
I'm expecting a guest pretty soon to come in and talk to us a little bit about the vaccine. I don't know where you guys actually stand on this. The gentleman that's going to be joining us pretty soon, his name is Anthony Costello. And he's a paediatrician and a professor of global health at the University College of London. Okay. He's just popped in actually, which is great. What I will do is I'll bring Anthony in on the conversation. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. And yourself?
Yeah, good. Have we met? We must have met at some stage because you're a mate of Susan's, aren't you?
Yes, Susan's daughter went to the same school as my daughter. They both went to Queen's
Donington.
Park. Yeah, they went to Donington, and Donington is literally around the corner from me. Literally.
Yeah, well, all my kids went to Salisbury. Our kids went to Salisbury and then to Queen's Park. Did your children go to Queen's Park?
My second daughter went there. But before I do that, allow me to introduce you to Aston at the top there. Aston Matapha. And Daniel
Aston,
Pink.
Daniel. Nice to meet you.
I was just doing an introduction to you. Please allow me to finish.
You carry on. You carry on.
Anthony Costello, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he is the director of the Department of Maternal, Child and Adolescent Health at the World Health Organization in Geneva. He was okay. He's worked in St Lucia, Malawi, Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, as well as the London NHS. And he is the co-founder of the independent. Is that SAGE?
Yeah, Scientific Advisory Group. Yeah.
Okay, that holds public online meetings each Friday to discuss the COVID pandemic, and has made frequent appearances on the media. I mean, for me to get straight to the point, for me to get straight to the point with you, Anthony, there is a kickback from the the West Indian community when it comes to the COVID vaccine. All right, it's steeped in history, really, with the Tuskegee the Tuskegee experiments that was conducted on American soldiers, to the likes of Bill Gates taking vaccines out to India, as you know, and Africa, which has killed millions of people, actually. And therefore, you can almost understand why the community is a bit hesitant to run out and take the vaccine. I mean, what do you think about that?
Right. Look, whenever you put any vaccine program together in any community, whether it's West Indian, white, anywhere, you're going to have a lot of people will just accept what the doctors tell them. There'll be a smaller group who will have some genuine concerns and questions about, you know, the safety, the extent to which it's being deployed in their interests before they're going to accept it. And we call that vaccine hesitancy. Okay. And then you'll have a smaller group, a much smaller group, who are, if you like, anti-vaxxers, who have philosophical, religious, or whatever objections to vaccination. And that always happens. And it's usually, if the vaccine is proven to be safe and it's explained decently, you're going to get 60 to 70% of the population who will take it. There's going to be more people who will hesitate. And in some communities, there are good reasons for that. So, for example, the West Indian community, there are many reasons why they may not. And you can probably tell me more than I know. But I think part of it is that they're being asked to trust the same structures that have also contributed to their discrimination, their abuse, their trauma, and their marginalization over the years.
Thank you.
And so it's absolutely, and then they think, well, we're being asked to do this for the wider population, but is it going to be any good for us?
Right.
And of course, there are scare stories, because scare stories have happened in the past. You've mentioned a couple. You could add in, I mean, in Nigeria, there was a big scare about the polio vaccine because people doubted some of the intentions of people. The Pakistan people, polio vaccinators have been killed. A lot of vaccinators have been killed in Pakistan because people thought it was part of an American plot and the rest of it. But this is not just, listen, when I was, you know, as I said, my kids were at Salisbury School. And the communist, I always remember this was about 15 years ago. I was, you know, coming back from countries like Malawi in Africa, which had actually a very good, they had over 80% measles uptake vaccine. In Brent, it was about 50%. And the worst groups were the white middle-class mothers, because they'd heard all these scares about measles vaccine from this guy, Andrew Wakefield. I don't know if you remember all that, and the scare about measles and autism. And I spent loads of my time in the playground just talking to mothers about, you know, I'm not sure about those risks, and you know, and trying to present the evidence and stuff. But even now, our measles vaccine uptake is not good, and we have consistent outbreaks in the UK. So there's all that kind of stuff that goes on. Can I just, before you come in again, one thing about Bill Gates. I've worked with the Gates organizer. I don't work for them, but I have.
No, you know, you've worked with the organizer. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've actually wanted you to actually come on to the platform to give us a balanced view, because I mean, I'm definitely skeptical when it comes to Bill Gates. 100. I'm 100 skeptical of this brother, considering that I know that he's coming from a background of Microsoft. His family was involved in eugenics. When I've listened to some of the things that he's said, you know, in terms of X amount of people have to be taken off the planet because there's too many people on the planet. These are all like red flags to me when I hear such things. So to have somebody like yourself who's actually worked for the foundation, it would be nice to get a balanced view on what your thoughts are.
I share some concerns about the idea of having American billionaires dominating global health. I think nations and governments should be doing that. And there are aspects of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation I'm not particularly, a fan of. But I know two people. Actually, it's interesting. When I was working at the World Health Organization, the head of immunization was a fantastic guy called Oko, we called him, and he came from the Congo. And he was a brilliant guy, and he ran immunization. So, and he understood a lot of the challenges of trying to scale up. But the other guy I know, who's a good friend of mine called Nosa, he's a Nigerian public health guy. He works for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's one of their senior advisors in Africa. And when he comes over, I take him for a meal or take him to a football match, And
Okay.
And he's a smart guy. And again, he understands. Now, Bill Gates has never made a vaccine in his life.
Right.
The foundation, they're basically funders. And they fund a lot of programs. And actually, they're the second biggest funder of the World Health Organization after the Americans. And then
But
the British.
is it not fair to say that if you're going to be funded or if you're going to produce a vaccine, you can only produce a vaccine for something that has been man-made and not something that has developed organically or naturally, so to speak. So you can't patent you can't patent a natural remedy, but you can patent a man-made virus.
No, this is absolutely, you're right. And of course, the whole patent issue is a big one. So if you go back 60 years ago, I mean, when I was at school, I'm in my 60s, we still had polio in this country. In fact, a boy in my class developed polio and had a limp. And at that time, there was a lot of concern about, and the vaccine came out in the late 50s, early 60s. And the guys that invented it, Jonas Salk and Sabin, an American and a French, they gave the patent away. They said, no, we're not making money out of this.
Right.
And the big issue at the moment is that India, South Africa, Kenya have said that the World Trade Organization should suspend intellectual property rights and let anyone make this so everyone could get. So there's a big problem with getting access to it. So, so you're right to raise the issue of patents, but I'm raising it from a different viewpoint, saying it's
which is what we really want, to be honest with you, Anthony.
Yeah.
That's what I really want, because I was asked. I mean, I've been trolled as well, because of the views that I have. Yeah, and I'm a layman. I'm a layman in all of this.
Yeah, sure.
I really am, and all I can use is my common sense to navigate my way through all of this. Yeah, I mean, when I'm hearing things like, no one's going to be liable if people are ill or whatever. I've heard that the Pfizer vaccine, there's been already 30 people in America who have actually died from taking the Pfizer vaccine. Anytime you get a practitioner who has studied, who's shown an alternative way of dealing with this this virus, is automatically struck off. You've got Facebook and you've got the likes of YouTube who are clamping down and pulling your posts because you've got an alternative point of view or an alternative way of dealing with the situation. It's these things that is, I think, that's really causing a problem. Like, there's no open discussion. When we're constantly listening to the social media, it's very much of, we should all rush out and get the vaccine. It's very geared towards like taking it, and anybody who's saying anything right is automatically slapped down. Now, I'd like the people and the Rants and Bants crew, if you have any questions, please, for Anthony. He's here, right? He's a qualified practitioner, all right, and he's here to answer questions. Would you like to jump in, Aston?
Yeah, the thing with the black community, from my perspective, is that obviously there has been that, as you pointed out rightly, and thankfully I commend you for it as well, is the fact that there has been a history, right, of use and abuse in that way there. That we really do feel that we are being used as an experimental ground. Unfortunately, the reports that has been come back through this vaccine, the sickness that we're incurring at this particular time, it has impacted the black community tremendously.
Yeah.
Not only in America, but let's just deal with us here in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've lost count of the amount of people that I know or know of personally, right, that have actually passed away over this period. Whether it's directly associated with the COVID or not. But one of the other things is that the NHS, right, has unfortunately been tarred in such a bad way because of the results what's been coming through there, and they're using obviously the numbers what are coming through the hospitals as their total of casualties in this case. The damage that has been happened for us here in the UK, and I'm going to talk from a UK perspective of us taking this vaccine has been damaged tremendously. Also, right, genetically, right, I mean, like, just have some clarification on this now and your perspective as well. There's a difference between the white people and the black people. Is the one vaccine going to be good enough for black people or African descent people and European white people?
Okay. So, well, let's do that last one first. I don't think the color of skin affects the difference much between the genetics of you and me, to be honest. I think genetics, we're all human beings. And because you've got darker skin than me, actually makes very little difference. The reason that more black and ethnic minority people are getting this infection and dying in this country is simply a fact of exposure, that a lot of people are in the frontline jobs. Look at the health service. And regardless of whether they're well-to-do black doctors or, cleaners or whatever, they're all getting it because of exposure, because they're in the front line. And then there are other people who are having to do the jobs where they're having to get on trains and do frontline, the transport jobs and the like. I think it's exposure that is the main issue, and that we have to protect people and give them safe working environments. And we're not doing that adequately, frankly. So I think that's one. I don't think the genetic story is a big one, to be honest. This idea, we're not a different race. We're all members of the same race. And
well, I think we're members of the same race, but I mean, it doesn't mean that our genetics are the same, because
no, we're all different. We're all different,
right? And that is one of the concerns that we do have.
Yeah,
I mean, even our dietary needs are slightly different, and it's something that should be taken into consideration. I mean, it has been said that they've broken down the genetic code to the point where, as Natasha Vigil has just now pointed out, that you can give a European a vaccine, and you can give somebody from the African continent a vaccine, and you can sterilize one and leave the other one alone. I mean, these can be seen as conspiracy theories, I know, okay, but past history tells us that it's something that some Europeans are prepared to do. They are prepared.
Right.
Okay. I'm glad that you've said that that's your perspective of it, right? Because I didn't want to interject in that, because I wanted to hear your
listen
on that. That's right.
I think a lot of it is more environmental. So look, a lot of first generation migrants here, and not just from the West Indies or Africa, I mean from Bangladesh, have much higher rates of diabetes. Okay, I work in Bangladesh with the Diabetic Association. They have higher rates than here, although we have quite high rates.
Yeah, but their sugar intake in their foods and what.
And also, one, well, actually, one of the biggest factors is the fact that because their women are small, as our women were small 120 years ago, they have smaller babies, and smaller babies are more insulin resistant, which means that they develop diabetes later. So it's all very complicated. And when people come and live here, it takes 2 or 3 generations for that effect to wear off, because they gradually get taller and the like. This is less of a problem actually in the West Indian community, because you're all bigger and better fast bowlers than us. You know, I mean, it's so. But can I just say one thing? Can I just
we're just more determined than you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could talk about my time in St Lucia because that taught me a lot about the whole colonial history. We could talk about that, but very quickly, let me put this to you two. Okay, look, I'm in my mid-60s. You're about 10 years younger. Aston, you might be younger.
He's an old bloke.
Oh, is he?
You exposed.
No, sorry about that, Anthony. Go ahead.
You guys always look much younger. You always keep your looks. So, look, at the moment, this infection is rampant. We've got a new variant that's transmitting more quickly. And you're living in London. I'm actually up in Yorkshire at the moment because my wife's from Yorkshire, and so I'm staying up here because I'm shielding from my sons in London. You know.
So you haven't got a swimming pool? No, I just about that was never mind. I was just about to say if you got a swimming pool in your back garden, but that was wrong.
Actually, I can show you. It's just a little old cottage which on the edge of a cliff, but I can look at the sea.
Well, so that's what I was making reference to the whole flooding that was going on, actually.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But I mean, no, that's trivializing what we're trying to do. I'm trying to help alleviate some of the concerns. I mean, I've just now had Sharon Kennedy, who we both know, who said Susan, who said that she's had the Pfizer vaccine yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
And she was a bit worried about that. I mean, has she really got concerns? Should she be really worried?
Well, my son, who actually had COVID symptoms a year ago, he's in the front line at the NHS. He lives in Kensal Rise. He had the Pfizer vaccine, I think beginning of last week or the week before, and he had a little reaction. He felt a bit unwell for 24 hours, and then it all died down. So if you've been exposed before, or if you're getting a second dose, when people do, you do have a bit of a reaction because it's stimulating your immune system, but it's short-lived. But the thing I was going to put to you, Aston and you, I reckon, and it would apply to me as well if I was living in, back in Queen's Park, Kensal Rise, I reckon there's a 1 in 2 chance of us getting infected in the next few months, at least, because it's so common. Everybody's getting it. I think if we get it, then there's a 1 in 3 chance that we would go to hospital because of our age. Me more than you. I'm a little bit overweight. Actually, you guys look very fit. I thought you were going to be a bit overweight, but you're not. But anyway.
I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, hang
on 1 second.
I'll let you finish. Yeah, go ahead.
And then people will have underlying conditions. I'm not going to ask you about yours, but I mean, I've got a slight heart problem, and I reckon that if I did get it and I had to go to hospital, I reckon there'd be a 50% chance I'd end up in ITU, and if that happened, I'd have a 50% chance of pegging out. Now, if you add all that together, it's like a 1 in 25 chance of either getting a really nasty infection, going up to hospital, getting long COVID, this is a really nasty virus, or it's not flu, or dying, in the next year.
That's what I was
and you've said this.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Is this thing not being confused with getting the flu? I mean, my mum actually went and had a COVID test the other day. All right.
Yeah.
She showed flu symptoms. All right. She went and she took the test, was shown to be positive. All right. Obviously, with all the news that is going on around, worry. Then she went back to what she would normally do, which is take some ginger, take some garlic, take some lemon, take some rum and what have you. Sweat. Gone. So
but that's
it's almost. I mean, it's this time of year when people do catch colds and that, and it seems like flu symptoms are being automatically assumed to be COVID. People are going, I got COVID. I mean, I'm not denying the fact that people are dying from this virus, but if we start from about March, every little thing was associated with COVID. When people first started dying, the first thing they started doing was they started. There were no burials, there were no autopsies, there were no looking into what people were actually dying of or what they were actually infected with. These are all the reasons why people are so skeptical.
Well, look, it's certainly true that a lot of people who test positive don't have many symptoms or any. That's absolutely true. But you cannot deny the reality of what's going on in the NHS right now. We had 1,800 deaths 2 days ago. We had 1,200
deaths today. It's not fair to say the NHS was overrun years ago. And this is not new that the NHS has been struggling to keep up with the illnesses that's been going on in the UK. Well, add COVID to it, and you've got double bubble.
Yeah, I mean, people can look at all the facts and figures. The facts are that in the past year, there have been over 100,000 excess deaths, of which the great majority have got COVID on the death certificate or been test positive. Now, you're right. There will be some that have died from underlying conditions. So I had a school friend of mine. He died last week from COVID. He's my age. And he had COVID on it. But he also had some underlying conditions. He was diabetic and he had some bowel problems. So, was it COVID that killed him? I think it tipped the balance. But, it's possible he might have died at a later stage. So I'm not disagreeing with you that this is complicated. But my medical view is this is a much more serious virus than seasonal flu. It's got about 5 to 10 times the death rate. And there are many other, the other thing I'm hugely worried about at the moment is the impact particularly on low income countries, not so much the Caribbean, which has come up in income over the last 3 decades, but particularly in Africa and South Asia, of the impact of COVID on all the other services, because it's affecting nurses and frontline people. Children are going to get fewer vaccines. They're going to get fewer access to antibiotics, to anti-malarials, to diarrheal treatment. And some models show that it could cost 1 million children's lives, not from COVID. It's the indirect effects of this. So you're right. And vaccines alone are not going to deal with this. We're being spread this lie that we're going to vaccinate everyone in this country and then everything's going to be all right. It's not going to be like that, because it's going to take time to roll out this vaccine. Transmission will continue. We don't know how long the immunity will last. The virus is a clever thing. It's going to mutate all the time, and we may need to create new vaccines, a bit like they do for flu. So this is a battle. The reason I'm going to get the vaccine as quickly as, as soon as it comes up, is pure self-interest. Because I want to see my kids again. That's all I can say to you.
What if, Jackie's asking a question here. What if, without trying to throw a spanner in the works.
Oh, what, the real agenda of Bill Gates?
Right. So, because the thing is that he's got enough money to manipulate the broadcasters. He's got enough money to manipulate personalities. He's got enough money to actually have people like yourself as a practitioner spill the sort of propaganda that he wants to come out. Is that all bollocks, or is that in actual fact a truth that he's in a position to do that? And if he is doing that, right, even unbeknown to yourself, you could be working to his agenda.
Yeah. What I would say is, look, if you look at all that, we're in a world of billionaires with obscene amounts of money, and a lot of it comes from tax evasion. So, I think if the billionaires played their tax right. So if you take Jeff Bezos of Amazon, or Elon Musk of Tesla, or Warren Buffett and people, well, I should leave Warren Buffett out of it, because he does give a lot of his money away, actually. Yeah. But Bezos and Musk and Larry Ellison and people, they spend it all on yachts, and they don't give it. Now, Gates decided, and I think he comes from a kind of old Republican family who are Protestant and want to do good works. And I think he got a bit bored running Microsoft, and he had a fortune, as you say. And so he and his wife decided they wanted to do some good. And they're different, actually. He's a nerd. He's somebody who's totally into technology. So he's into vaccines, particularly, and invests hugely in all of that. Personally, I think the causes of ill health are much broader than that. A vaccine can only do so much. It's about poverty. It's about injustice. It's about the colonial inheritance of many people. It's about the effects of the British from their empire and other empires, which have had multi-generational effects. So I think, I disagree with Bill Gates on that. His wife is different. She's into the kind of things I've been looking at, which is community mobilization, getting people to think through their own problems, giving them the power to act, giving people money, actually, so that they can have a better life and give them the rights to determine their own future. So, I mean, I can disagree with Bill Gates. I don't think he's an evil conspiracist, because I don't think he'd be able to do it anyway, even if he was. He certainly has influence. I mean, when he flies into countries, he gets taken to see the president and all of that. But I don't think that he's an evil person in that sense. I mean, I personally don't. And I know a lot of the people that work there, a lot of them are very good scientists and doctors, and they wouldn't be working there if they felt that there was any kind of that conspiracy going on. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although I have some reservations. There's another question from Natasha. It's not complex. It's the fact that diabetes and obesity and overcrowding play the biggest role, not that black people are more infectious. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I think we're all infectious. I think even children. And because this government, I mean, I've been very critical of our government because I don't think they mobilized communities early on and got community leaders from every community. I mean, there are a million different kind of communities in this country early on. We didn't pay people properly to isolate and to keep away from, if you're working in the gig economy, and you're on minimum wage, a 0 hours contract,
right?
And they say, "Oh, you've tested positive." See, this is what they found in Liverpool. They did all these tests, and the poorest people didn't go for tests. Why? Because they didn't want to be told to isolate. Because the best they were going to get was a 500 quid voucher, and when everyone applied for it, 80% got turned down.
Yeah,
it was like the benefit system.
I mean, as you say, that's actually in the news right about now.
Well, I've been saying this for 9 months.
Could get 500 quid, and it's not going to help.
It's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, that's half of minimum wage. If you're asked to isolate for 14 days and you've got to feed your family, you need £1,000 minimum. That's living wage rates. And people aren't going to let their kids go hungry in order to obey some. So, we've got to get all of those things right and protect people. And if we'd done that, like they did in Asia, like they did in Norway, Finland, to some extent in Germany, they've got incredibly low death rates. In Thailand, in Vietnam, they're down at 1 per million deaths. We're at 1,300 per million deaths. So I think we've screwed up. Before you get to a vaccine, we've messed up on the mobilization of communities, trying to understand everybody's point of view, making sure that the poorest people are protected. We didn't get the protective equipment out fast enough. We've got to compensate people if we're asking them to isolate. All of these things. So I'm not disagreeing with you on any of that. On the vaccine, I think, I've looked at the papers, I've looked at the various things. No vaccine's perfect, never think they will be. And even if they're saying 90%, it's probably going to end up less than that when it's rolled out. So it's not perfect. Yeah.
Okay. No, sorry to cut you.
Sure.
Really, really appreciate the fact that you've come out and you've spent this.
No, not at all. No, it's my pleasure.
To talk to us. I've got one more question on the screen
sure.
there, which I'd like you to address.
Oh, yeah. Please explain if a vaccine is supposed to trick your body into knowing how to fight a virus. Why do they insist on people taking a vaccine every year? It's supposed to do it by yourself. Some people have low immune systems, but our bodies grow and learn. Yeah, I mean, basically it is. It's exposing you to a bit of the vaccine a bit of the virus without giving you the virus. And it is exactly that. It is tricking you into having an immune response in your body. Now, in some things, if you get a measles vaccine, it's going to last you for life. Other vaccines, you have to give 2 or 3 doses, and some will then last you for life. So if you have a tetanus vaccine, it's going to protect you for at least 10 to 20 years. But for some virus infections, it's more difficult because they're changing their pattern. We've never got a vaccine for AIDS, HIV. I remember.
Well, these are all the questions that has come up.
Yeah.
All of a
So,
sudden,
I mean,
in such a short space of time, we've managed to come up with a vaccine that is supposed to be working. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to sum up or say to anybody who's skeptical for whatever reason.
Yeah.
As to why it is a good thing for them to take it. And I'm hoping that people will listen to you keenly and take on board, because I do need to close this section of the...
Yeah, sure. I can come back another time, anytime you want.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I would just say finally that this is a dangerous virus. I think the risks to individuals are way bigger from the virus than the vaccine. And all I can say is I'm going to take this as soon as I'm offered it. And I'll take any of the three that we know about, the Pfizer, the Moderna. And yeah, I will probably get a swollen arm. I might feel a bit lousy for a day, but I'm prepared to do that. And I'll take 2 doses definitely. And then I'll feel much safer about, going out and being around, although there's still going to be a risk of infection. The question for much younger children is, younger adults is different. But I would advise anyone of our age, anyone over the age of 30 to, definitely go and get this. And if you've got a risk factor, like you're a bit overweight or you've got diabetes or something, you should definitely do that, in my view.
Okay.
In my view. But I accept, it's been really interesting to listen to you. And I think a lot of the things that you've raised are important. And I don't see a vaccine as the ultimate, the be all and end all of this. I think we also have to protect people, look after them, pay them properly, and manage the transmission of infection in the community through all the basic things that were done over the last century, reducing overcrowding and the like. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Okay. Well, Anthony, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for
Not at all.
joining us this morning. And I hope people can appreciate that we are trying to show a balanced point of view here.
Yeah,
we're actually talking to a paediatrician and a professor of the Global Health University College of London, and I'd like to bid you farewell, my friend, and say
see you in Queen's Park.
Thank you very much for waking me up this morning, by the way, and. I must say, so that Susan can hear. I had a conversation on WhatsApp with somebody, and I thought it was you. Yeah.
Yes.
I was extremely upset. Because I thought to myself, "There's no way that somebody of your caliber is going to be talking to me the way that this person was." I said, "He's not even." Everything was a joke at the time, and I thought, "Is this guy confusing my comedic status with just how serious the subject is?"
Exactly.
Only to find out it was my mate Ep6 who, when I put your contacts into my phone, somehow transferred your details onto his details, and I ended up having a conversation with somebody totally different, thinking that it was you. So I do apologize for that.
Well, I had to do it because I'm very scared of Susan. She's very intimidating.
She is quite intimidating when she's
an extremely scary woman, but she's wonderful. And she runs the Queen's Park Harriers, you know that? The runner.
Yeah, I know.
She's fantastic marathon runner.
Her son is an exceptional runner himself.
Who?
I can't remember his name. All I remember is that I used to go to their sports day. I'm one of those parents who runs around the track with the kids, screaming and shouting and encouraging them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, how
race them when they're running.
How old is your daughter, the one that went to Queen's Park? I wonder if she knows.
She's 21 now.
Oh, no, she's bit young. My youngest is 23. He was there. Okay. She might know him, Ned. Yeah.
Yeah, more than likely. But she's currently in Coventry.
Oh, great. What's she doing?
She's studying business, international business.
Excellent.
So I'm quite concerned that she's up there doing block parties right about now. The kids are trying. But I'm going to let you go, Andy. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Aston. Thanks, Daniel.
Before we go, you're getting quite a few applauds here from Carl Bassett, who's in Wales.
Wow.
Susan has just said, Susan Kennedy, they are talking about you. Oh, that's
Sean. Yeah, I know Sean.
How you doing, Sean? Sean's another person that I love.
She used to run the London Fire Service. She's amazing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And she does so much work for the schools and everything. In fact, she got me to come into Queen's Park actually to do some comedy. And you can trust me, after I'd finished doing my comedy, the parents were looking at me in a totally different way. You know, I mean, they started backing off me in the playground and all that.
Listen, I must come to one of your gigs, actually. I would really like that. That would be fun.
Please do. Susan is saying, say hello to Rianne.
Julie
saying, thank you, Anthony, for your knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Julie Juice.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for your time, Anthony.
Not at all. Bye.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, that was quite a conversation that we had. I think it was well overdue, actually.
You know what I enjoyed about that is that I literally did sit back and allow him to speak, right, and to listen to what he was saying. And in general, I wouldn't usually give them too much time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't usually give that too much time. And yes, I was able to speak something that was playing on my mind, right? And I know a lot of, when I'm hearing the conversations around from other individuals as well. Right?
Okay.
I was able to actually give that question out there. I didn't interject because obviously, you know, it can be a touchy kind of subject of genetically difference.
I think it was fair to say that he actually addressed it head on.
Yes,
which he needed to do.
Yeah.
Because we are genetically different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my opinion, because not me funny, and as you pointed out, Rudy, the foods that we take in is completely different to the foods that the white Caucasian people take in, right? You know, to those who are actually listening and watching this, right? It's an actual fact, right? Because I know, so I can go and eat yam, banana, chocho, and that would have a different effect than pie, mash, and chips.
Okay.
You understand? So, you know, I do believe that we have a genetic difference there, you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that I'm in no position to counter debate that, and I think it was fair that I had somebody who was and qualified to do so. I still have my concerns in the sense that I know that we're educated to think and behave a certain way, so as that we keep the coffers of the plantation owner filled. I know I'm very much aware of the fact that we're educated to do jobs as opposed to educated to think, which brings us back to Daniel.
How you doing, brother?
Thank you very much for being patient, Daniel. I really would have liked you to have participated just a little bit more, but I'm not going to ask you to step out of your own area. That's down to Aston and myself, really, to step out there and fall through the plug hole.
I found it interesting, Rudy. I make no bones about that. I found it interesting, but at the same time, you know, I'm still very much of the opinion I don't know what's in these things, and so therefore then I'm very worried about, you know, what these things contain and what they can do. So I know that for me, in my mind, I'm saying what's in these things. Like you talk about when you talk about Bill Gates, when you look at Henry Kissinger and what Henry Kissinger said, that they need to depopulate the earth by 2 to 3 billion people. Brother, these are European people who are sitting down with an agenda that they have the means to be able to influence and have people working for them feeling that they're doing a great thing when they're actually carrying out a greater agenda to wipe out people. So
that's what I actually felt, that he was coming from that perspective, in the sense that he can't believe that somebody would have that kind of like mindset. But when you're on the other side of the fence and you know about busting, you know about, you know, being strung up from a tree, you know about having your hands chopped off for rubber,
Yeah.
You know about having all of these things happen to you.
Yeah.
We know that people are capable of thinking that way. We know the likes of Henry, you mentioned his name, Mr. Kissinger.
Kissinger, yes.
Yeah, have spoke about plans of depopulating the world for the sake of our European cousins to basically take over and maintain the power that they have and their stranglehold on the world. You know, the whole breaking down of the economy, you know, to mess up people mentally, you know, which is going to kill them off even quicker. But what I really want to do, I want to talk more about you, Daniel.
Yeah,
I really want to get into you.
I think so too.
Yeah, I really want to get into you.
Well, that's why I love this brother. That's why I love this brother.
I love Walter, and I point out that he's also Guyanese.
Absolutely.
I would like to talk a little bit more. I'd like to get off the whole COVID thing. We've got a lot of issues in the Black community that we have to deal with. I think COVID is just another distraction for us. I think to myself, the works that you are currently doing.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to talk about that.
Yes.
That's what I really would like to talk about now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the works is much the same as the works that brothers like yourself are doing in order to kind of empower, and Aston are doing to empower our community to think and to be able to analyze and question about where we are and what is going on. We are not in Africa. We are in Europe. And being
the belly of the beast. No, we're in the brain. We're in the brain. We're in the brain, not the belly.
Yeah,
the brain.
Absolutely. We are in Europe, brother. And because we're in Europe, there's a saying. If he who kidnapped you and is teaching you what he's teaching you and educating you, do you really believe that he's going to educate you right?
Well, so, I would even go across that in terms of the class. There's a class structure here as well.
All of that, brother. All of that.
Right.
And that class structure was amongst European people long before the so-called quote unquote Black people came here. You can go back to the days of the kings of Henry VIII and all of the rest of them. Class structure was there. They was treating poor white people in this country in a disgusting way, where that still remains the same. So that class system where you have the upper class, the middle class, and the working class and the underclass, all of that stuff has always been there because that's how they've been treating their one another from long time. Yeah. We never necessarily came from that perspective as an African people before the Europeans came out of Africa, came out of Europe and came into Africa. We had our own ways of managing ourselves and looking after and taking care of our business. And as you rightly said,
people with respect as well.
Absolutely. And Ubuntu, I am because we are, therefore because we are, I am. That meant we looked out for every aspect of our society in order to elevate and bring ourselves up from the poorest.
So is that what Ubuntu that means? Is that what it means?
Yes, that's what it means. And so that whole philosophy and way of being, which is a way of life, a way of thinking, when you think like that and you speak like that and you act like that, then you have what you call a congruency. And so everything that you think, you speak, and in how you act, it's about lifting up. It's not about taking you down. And so that for me is why our work has always been based on those African principles, because at the end of the day, from the time we have left the shores of the continent of Africa and been in the hands of Europeans, our lives have been decimated right the way along. And you can go back to even when the Europeans were fleeing from themselves in Europe and running into what we called the Americas, when they were dispersing the native Indians that were there, they decided to give them blankets full with smallpox and all those kind of things and wipe them out. So for me, brother, you know, history is best rewarded for its research. You don't have to be academically minded and all of those kind of things, but history is best rewarded for its research. And if we don't take our history and the research of our history and how we've arrived at where we've arrived, then we are likely to go back and fall into the same foolishness that has been taking place with us all along. And so I kind of liken things to a particular way, Brother Rudi and Aston. And although we're all part of the human family, and I agree that we are part of the human family, but there are differences within the human family. And in those differences is our beauty. And that means that we can live according to the nature in which we were created in. So you have the cat family, you have the lion, you have the jaguar, you have the puma, you have the leopard, you have the cheetah. All of them are cats and they're part of the cat family, but they're not all the same.
Okay, and on that issue, on that point there, I'd just like to allow Susan to voice her opinion here. She says, I have 3 doctors in my family, and Anthony is a good friend who was just on a moment ago, and we all have lived in Africa and Asia and are anti-slavery, colonialism, etc., and have black members of our extended family. And I find it sad and quite judgmental that it is assumed all white people are in on this agenda, knowingly or not. So firstly, I'd just like to say, Susan, is that we've made it clear, I think, that we are not saying all white people.
No.
That's the reason why I brought class into it, to point out that there is a class structure here that plays a role. And because the world has got so small, we've all been lumped into one. But as we are different people from different parts of the world, it affects us all differently. So when we talk about things like white privilege, it's not saying that all white people are privileged. We are saying that by being white, you automatically find yourself in a place of privilege where black people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we have different issues to deal with. So for not one instance are we saying across the board or having this this judgmental assumption that all white people are knowingly behind this agenda. We are not saying that at all. We're saying there is an agenda and not everybody is what we would say awoke to it. Okay, so I just thought it was fair that I allowed Susan to voice her concerns.
Absolutely.
And for us to also take that on board. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And straight away, Susan has said, love the analogy of the cats, which means that we're all on the same page. Sometimes we've got to allow the conversation to flow.
Yes, sir.
In order to get to it, to where it's getting to. We do not assume all white people are in this. Don't take offense unless you are actually that way. Sure. Right? So this is good. This is good and this is healthy because I love Susan and Susan knows that. Sorry, are you saying something, Anthony, or are you talking to somebody else? I mean,
Aston.
Aston, sorry.
No, the thing is, right, we are only talking from our perspective at this particular moment because of this forum, okay? Look, the conversations that we're having here is not the normal conversations that you're going to hear, and it's going to be amicable to everybody else, right? Contextually, culturally, right, we are going to be expressing how things are for us, right? And fortunately, our guest or previous guest, right, he was very aware of the differences of our opinions in that way. So he allowed us to speak in that way. Those who, and as I stated, those who were listening probably are not of the African descendant culture, right? They may not understand the perspective of where we are coming from, right? But at the same time, you have to understand that there is an issue, right, or a situation that has occurred over generations of building, that there's a divide of distrust, disharmony, unfair, abusive use towards us as black people.
And that's why you see Brother Aston and Brother Rudi, being of the quote-unquote African Caribbean community and understanding the historical narrative and why we're here. When you read back in the 70s, how a man by the name of Bernard Cord wrote about how the education system made Black children educationally subnormal, those things have impacted us right up until this day. And so if we don't try to do something different for ourselves, by ourselves, out of our own mindset, then when we're always being influenced and cajoled into other things by external forces that don't have our own best interests at heart, then for me, then we will find ourselves suffering the way that we do. So Ubuntu has made sure that when it's worked with the community and worked with the wider community for the benefit of helping young African Caribbean young people and the families to see the best in themselves and to start to look back into their own historical narrative and see the beauty of their history, and understand that we were managing ourselves in different ways that made us healthy and made us productive. And so in Ubuntu, we carry that same philosophy that I am because we are, therefore because we are, I am. So out of that, within the borough of Lewisham, as I said to you earlier on, 84%, which Lewisham has quite a big population of African Caribbean people in this borough. And
is it the largest in the UK?
One of the largest, if not the largest.
I thought Brent was.
No, Lewisham's got a massive population of African Caribbean people in the borough. And it's over the years, because of my understanding of what's been going on, coming up through youth work and things like that, I got to understand many things. And so when we got to understand in what was going on in Lewisham, and then we read a document called the Lewisham Education Commission Report, which came out in April 2016, that stated 84% of our children will not can't get 5 GCSEs, including A to C, including maths and English. That's numbers now. Now, that should be alarming to anybody. It should be alarming to anybody. As the African Caribbean community, we should be alarmed. And so out of that alarm, we had what we call out of Ubuntu, what we call Coffee Saturday.
Oh, because I was about to ask you that. I can hear the problems that we've got in the community, but I'm not hearing solutions. And I believe that you're solution based.
Yeah. And so we developed
what programs you've got in place.
Yes. So we developed what you call Coffee Saturday, which parents were able to meet up on the second Saturday of the month, where they could talk about the issues that parents were actually finding themselves and the challenges that they were having, continually working and not being able to do the things that they would like to do. And so out of Coffee Saturday came what you call the Lewisham Education Group, which challenged Lewisham Council about how we could then work with the council to kind of look at addressing the issues that's facing the community. And so Lewisham Council and the mayor, at the time, Steve Bullock, who was outgoing, said that we would have dialogue and communication. When he was leaving, we said we'd like that conversation to continue with the new mayor, which was Damien Egan. And he has been having conversations with us in terms of how we can look at challenging and changing the narrative of what is happening within the borough of Lewisham. And so there's ongoing dialogue that is happening in that way, where they're trying to put different things in place to kind of help in that process. But whilst we work with the council in some aspects, and when I say work with the council, challenging the council about how we can change some of those narratives, we're also been challenging the community and had many community call-outs, which Brother Aston knows because he's part of the Black Fathers Support Group, which we then start to look at how we can then work with our young people and the families in a different way to kind of empower them. But in Ubuntu, we have programs that kind of look at identity, raising self-esteem, looking at our history, looking at going not only to places in England and London to kind of help build their self-esteem and confidence around the history of England itself and our own historical narrative in this country, England. We were also able to take a group of 19 young people to Africa as part of as an educational trip, so that it would then empower them to kind of see the world in a different way. And so those are the kind of things that we do in working with them. We genuinely were working on a Wednesday evening with young people, putting on programs for them so that they could then be able to steer those programs and share their own experiences with us. And
what type of programs were you putting on at the time?
Those programs were based on telling your own narrative, sharing your own story, seeing the best in yourself. What was it that was good about you? Getting them to identify qualities that were in them that they recognized and look at how they could build on those qualities. And so it was about finding the inner person within them, getting them to identify the things that excited them the most, that made them feel good about themselves. And then it was about building on those things, Brother Rudi, that helped those young people to kind of start doing things and then get them to put on things within the community themselves. And we just sit back and just watch them and just steer them. And so that has happened over the years. And those young people have come through and gone on to do great things in many ways. As we said, young people can do great things. And they have gone on to do great things, whether they've gone to university and become biochemists, whether some of them have gone into be doing youth and community work. Some of them are running their own businesses. So
excellent.
You
because,
know,
I mean, these were the sort of programs that Akala spoke about as a child growing up, where you used to have was it Saturday schools?
Saturday schools, yes.
Used to empower the kids at a very early age.
Absolutely.
In terms of the things that we contributed to civilization, because
that's right.
I mean, when I went to school, the only thing that I learned that we really did was come over on a boat, right? That was like we were packed in there as sardines, you know what I mean? We were never told about the fact that we were doing cataract surgery. We were never told about the fact that we were smelting metal. We were never told that we were, reading from the stars and cosmology.
Absolutely.
We were
navigating the earth, brother.
We were never told that we were engineers, that we, all of these things was missing from our education. And then when they started to have intelligent tests, the intelligent tests were done from the perspective of being a European. So you're being asked questions that is totally out of your cultural sensibility, so to speak. I mean, I used to say to myself, you know what, if I was to run a quiz and I started asking people how you met ackee and saltfish, I'm sure the Jamaican's going to get the answer right. And I'm sure that, my European is going to be totally lost. But that became a measurement of intelligence. You know? And,
so if you're gonna tell a fish to climb a tree.
I like that analogy.
Careful, because there are some fish that can do that.
It's all right. You tell me which fish you see a climb. So
there is one in Australia that does.
Well, if that fish can stay up in the tree, brother, and you can measure that as intelligence, and he can stay there and swing from tree to tree, then he must be a bad man fish. But I know that for me, Brother Rudi, it was about getting them to see the beauty within themselves. And it wasn't just about the children, it was working with the parents as well. Because the change didn't just come with the children, the change came with the parents actually supporting those young people. And so for me, it was about identity and knowing what was we before our enslavement. And when I work in some schools and I talk to a lot of our young people, brother Rudi, and I ask them, what do you know about your own African history? The first thing they tell me is, we were slaves.
Which is understandable.
And it's understandable. And then I say to them, okay, we were slaves, but what were we before we were slaves? Enslaved.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're not gonna talk about the 25 dynasties.
Absolutely, brother.
They're not gonna talk about Nok. They're not gonna talk about Songhai. They're not gonna talk about Mali. They're not going to talk about the Great Zimbabwe. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go into Tanzania. They're not going to.
That's right.
I mean, we've already been told that Egypt is actually part of the Middle East.
It's part of the Middle East, brother.
You know, and when you go to places like the British Museum, you know, and the first
basement room, then give to the black history.
Yeah, now ask yourself the question, brother Rudi. You see, they've got all of these statues in the British Museum and all those things. How comes we don't have museums in Africa and in Caribbean of white people?
Bruv, we're not interested. We're not.
You don't see no museums of white people in Africa or in the Caribbean, but they've got all of the stuff from Africa in the British Museum, where you can go and see the things that are in there. And this is why, until you start to change the narrative and turn it around, brother, and let our young people see where our history is. And even up and down the streets of London, when you walk up and down, our history is right in front of our face. But if you don't know that you don't know that you don't know, then you just walk around.
The question that's being asked of you, how can we contact you?
You can contact me on my email address, which is dpink8@icloud.com, and that's dpink8@icloud.com. You can get me there. You can go onto our Instagram, which is @Ubuntu SLN, all one word, or you can go onto our Twitter, which is the same, Ubuntu SLN. You can find us on there, and you can go onto our little Facebook page. Same thing, Facebook, Ubuntu, put us in there. You should be able to see us on Facebook there. And so for me, it's not about downing any other civilization or any other people. It's about lifting our people up. And I know that if we start to work together and see the best in one another, then I know that at the end of the day, we can change our own reality, our own narrative, and make ourselves the people that we're supposed to be. And whether we want to believe it or not, brother Rudi, we are going back to be the people that we're supposed to be, whether we want to or not. It's a fact. And so for me, that's why Ubuntu is here. That's why I'm proud of the things that we have in Coffee Saturday on the second Saturday of the month. That's why I'm proud of the Lewisham Education Group, who have been challenging Lewisham Council, but also been challenging our community to get up and let's start working together to make a change for ourselves. And so that's really the beauty of what it is that we do in terms of that. Did you get that bit right, brother Rudi? It was dpink8. There we go.
dpink8.
dpink8@icloud.com. And you can get hold of me there, and I can do my best to communicate with whoever wants to communicate with us, and see what we can do to continue this upward move that we're doing in changing the realities of our children. They're our future, man. And if we don't put ourselves out the way for them, then there's nothing that's going to happen for them. And every community looks out for their future of their children. And that's why we teach our children that Africa, which is the richest continent on this planet Earth, that it is going to be, whether we like it or not, it is going to be a superpower. Very soon.
It has been said, believe it or not, that if Africa was to close tomorrow, okay, and renegotiate everything,
absolutely, brother,
that within less than a year, they would be running the planet,
brother, and absolutely, and that's why the first thing we got to do, brother Rudi, is get our mind back. Get our minds back. We've got to unlearn what we've learned and relearn something new about ourselves in terms of our historical narrative, but not only learn about our past. Don't stay in the past. We are in the present, and it's what we're going to create going forward that is going to astound the world and bring in a whole new reality, unlike what we've ever done before. Because when our young people and us, and we support our young people, and when we start to do that, what we're going to bring into existence into the future will make Egypt and all the civilizations that we had before look like foolishness, my brother.
I think that's where we ourselves have to wake up and understand our role as elders now. Because I myself was born here.
Me too, brother.
Because I was born here, it's a totally different ball game to when my parents came. They just came here with the intention of a 5-year plan. Okay. And so the intention was always to go back home. But we're here now and we've all had children. And I think it's starting to dawn on us exactly what that responsibility means when it comes to having children who were born here and grandchildren who were born here. And what our role is now, which is to encourage them to build industry and create links with the African diaspora, so to speak.
And you're right, you see, brother Rudi. And what I want to say also to mothers who work hard and fathers who work hard is that never be ashamed if you see things are going wrong where your children are concerned and think that your parenting isn't adequate, because no one likes to believe that their parenting is inadequate. What we've got to do is say to ourselves, you know what? I need support. And there's people out there that can support you to do it. You've got Manhood Academy that's out there doing things. You also have got Westside Young Leaders Academy out there doing things. You have other organizations out there doing things. And there's no shame in the fact that sometimes we are not getting things right. So,
well, if I'm correct, I mean, that's what Aston is actually planning on doing is us getting more of those organizations to come in on this platform and talk, if I'm right, Aston.
That's right. Because the thing is that if we know that these people are out there, these organizations are out there, we need to know and get familiar with them, utilize their services.
And you know what, to add with what Aston is saying, and it goes with what you was advertising when you began the show, brother Rudi, that our money only stays in our community for so long of a period. And so if we're going to have education and you've got groups like that out there that are supporting our community, support them, put money behind them, help them, so that we can then start to create the economics that we need in order to lift our community out. Because we've got a great man in the Ubuntu Coffee Saturday that we do. His name is Brother Paul Muhammad, and he does what you call money mob, where we go around to a black business and we spend a minimum of £10 with a black business, and we go as a group of us wherever those businesses are, and we spend money with each other. But I'm encouraging the wider community. If we want to see humanity come up, I don't care whether you black, Chinese, or any other human being. But I know this, when we work towards helping those who are the most disenfranchised and disempowered to come up, everybody else will come up at the same time.
Everybody right.
is if we really want to survive in this 21st century, we're going to have to put our shoulder to the wheel and put our people back up again, which will bring the whole of humanity up. And that's where we're going. One way or the other, brother Rudi, that's where we're going.
I love what you've just now said. I love your philosophy. Ubuntu is the first time I've actually come across that the organization. Thank you very much, Aston, for introducing.
I would like to say the reason why I've been quiet on this one, right, is because Danny is able to just move the world when he talks, you know, right? And the fact is that Danny, you know that you've been one of my mentors for a very, very long time. Right? And that is where I stand, and I'm proud to say this is one of my mentors.
Yeah, brother. As we say in the Caribbean, one hand wash the other. so as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's an honor because we as black men, we've got nothing to fear from one another. Our strength is in getting to know each other, and our women. Yes, and yeah. Just saying that our women and our brothers, we have got to get back to that place where we support our one another, brother. That's where it is as far as I'm concerned. And so, you know, we don't have to be the enemy of each other because we're not the enemy of each other. We're brothers and sisters of each other. And we need to make sure that we continue to work with one another and we will go up. As Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty people, you can accomplish what you will. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, he said, accept your own and be yourself. And so that is not to take anything away from anybody else. And nobody should be threatened at the fact that the black man is rising and the black woman is rising. We must rise together and we must support each other, encourage each other in every which way possible so that we can see the best of ourselves because we are a beautiful people. And for me, Brother Rudi, I hope one day that you can come and do something with us and make our people laugh and give them some jokes.
Oh, that I can do. That I can do. Whether or not I can be philosophical with it is another ball game altogether.
All you got to do is be you, brother. That's all you got to do. You come and just be you. Just be with the family, man. Be with the family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, brother Rudi, we would love that, brother. And I've loved the fact that you've even allowed me to have the time that we have here. And it's been beautiful. You make me laugh. Aston, you make me laugh too. And yeah, the more we are together, the happier we shall be. And the last thing I will say is that the countenance of one man brighten it another. Iron sharpen it iron. And that's who we are, brother.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in to the weekly roundup with Aston Martin. Matapha. Aston, you know what? Aston Martin is a character, right?
And it ain't a full car neither.
Oh man, a big car, you know, a big car. Aston Matapha Jones, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host this morning. I'd like to thank Anthony Costello for coming in, Daniel for sharing your wisdom with us, and I'm hoping that you will link us up with various other organizations who are doing such great works as yourself. Finally, I know that you've given out your email address, but could you just tell them about your Instagram, etc. once again, so that people finally will know where they can actually get hold of you?
Yep, it's Twitter is at Ubuntu SLN, all one word, Ubuntu SLN. So that's UBUNTUSLN, all one word, brother. And you know, beloved, it's our time as a people, and it's our time as human beings. If we take up the challenge, whether you like it or not, we are going to bring in a new world. This world that we're living in the way how it is not for us. We need something brand new, and it can only come from those who have been at the bottom who can then rise to the top. And that's where the new world will come in. And justice, freedom, and equality is absolutely a must. And we must make it happen, brother. One love.
Thank you very much for that. Don't disappear. We'll be with you in a second. Okay, Daniel. Aston.
King, man.
How do you reckon it went this morning, my friend?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing, as I said, one of my mentors to come onto the show this morning. And I'm hoping that everybody benefited from that. Add him to your mailing list. Anybody who I would say that anybody who has any child that you feel needs that extra boost, right? Or even in a state of that, you know, they could be in any level of education, but they just need some self-education, right? I'm going to say, if you just put them in that environment and see what flourishes out of that. I've witnessed that they are world leaders. There's some world leaders that have come through that organization there, and they've been influential throughout the whole of not only the borough, but throughout the whole of England as well.
Okay. Okay, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I say thank you very much for joining us this morning. Hopefully I will see you guys next week, Friday. Have a good weekend. Please do check out one or two of the promos. I want to do a big shout out to One Shot. And yes, thank you for watching the weekly roundup, man. That's the best way to say it. And I'll see you guys. I'll see some of you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, and check out the promos.
15 minutes with DJ Countryman and Rudi Lickwood, Saturday morning mayhem with true entertainment heavyweight. Join them with interviews, comedy and quizzes.
I'll support money for you or something.
No chance to that, Babs.
No chance.
Morning, darling.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Ep6. My internet's awful.
We got to be free. Just like thee. Travel over land and sea. My people shall free. We got to be free.
Hello.
Like thee.
Hello. Goodbye. Goodbye 40 times.
You gone. He's gone, man. He's gone.
15 minutes with DJ Countryman and Rudi Saturday mornings. Now I'll be the same again.
It's time to spice up your food with One Shot Marinade, the authentic Caribbean seasoning. Good tasting food is at the heart of Caribbean culture, and seasoning is essential to the flavour of any tasty dish. Available in 4 flavoursome varieties, One Shot Marinade has been developed to bring generations of culinary knowledge from the melting pot of the Caribbean direct to your kitchen. So, whether you're preparing an elaborate island dish or a quick tasty snack, choose One Shot Marinade. A little bit of Caribbean history in every bottle.
What you put me on this time of morning, you're going to scare everybody. They're going to be...
One second. Are you there, yeah?
Yes.
All right, bro. No. I was holding two conversations, actually.
Straight away, that, red flag. BEN community, why? Are we the guinea pigs now?
This is not a corporate site. This is not a corporate thing. I'm not trying to appease anybody apart from the viewers who watch it. Yeah? Because further down the line, we're going to be covering areas and we're going to be saying things that's going to...
You would say. I feel like when you are speaking up for yourself, it should be unapologetic and it should be honest. I think that we all have.
As this is the weekly roundup,
the guts are bubbling. We are proud to announce the launch of the first British black-owned search engine called Black Search. So if you're looking for anything related to the black community, whether that be bloggers, podcasters, news, history, business, black directories, marketplaces, products and or services, simply visit www.blacksearch.net and you will find whatever it is you are looking for.
Oh, I do believe that's your voice.
Yeah. I couldn't find nobody to voice inside to do it myself, you know what I mean?
Oh. You're on your second coffee, in fact. Oh my God. Yeah. Listen, girl, I haven't even had a coffee. The thing is, if it wasn't for my daughter, I think I would have still been asleep because she had to go to school. So she came in to say, bye, Dad. And I was like, oh my God, if she's saying bye, that means that 8:15 is gone.
Bada 21. They say knowledge is the path to enlightenment, but I still don't know if they right in her. I see some clued up freedom fighters that ain't fought off the demons inside of them yet. I see some pure hearts that's willing to ride but let vampires suck off their vibes. And I see people stand and unite, willing to fight for what they think was right. Badder, you gon' make it. Make what? After I ain't living in mansions, rips outside, people still ain't got. You must have thought that this was bars to riches, like I was interested in cars and trinkets. Let me chat to them. Lockdown 3, Tier 5, Episode 1, Scraggly who's done it again. I left last year with him staring down the barrel of my lyric gun, and this year I'd do it again. Listen to me, I will blaze all year, they don't know me good. Make sure you stay grounded, so I keep it hood. I bun the lyrical fire, I pour the lyrical petrol, and I stoke it all with the lyrical beech wood. Don't I ain't gonna stop till my people them eat good. You can keep your vaccines, cause no one ain't sheeps. Look, there ain't no trust with my people and vaccines. If you know about Tuskegee, you know what that means. If you don't know, Don, you need to look that up. The Tuskegee experiment is where they lost all the trust. Now it's one earth, yeah, we've all got to live on it, so finding some common ground is a must. But it's like someone who lies and cheats and steals and murders and still wants you to forgive them. And we've got the capacity to forgive, but first, you got to put your hands up, say sorry, admit that. Do not act like you never did that. In the courts, you don't show remorse. What do? They sting that. Same thing here. Let's have the proper conversation. Stop acting like things is really fair. You see, this year, I swear, there's no apologizing. See this black right here? There's no compromising. Not one time will I take the bass out my voice. Who don't like it, you can just stay frightened. You can't tell the Pied Piper how to blow his pipe. You can't pick for the devil's advocate which side. You can't tell me how to live my life. I tell you how I live my life. I really don't care who don't like it. What's white privilege? Let's be real. Storming the Capitol without getting killed. If that was a bunch of black souls, there would have been a bunch of black funerals, bunch of black mothers pulling on their clothes, a bunch of black people screaming out. It ain't fair. White people stormed the building and just walked out of there. So if we're gonna talk, then let's talk proper. If not, allow me to continue this hip hopping. The flow hot like red coal rocks and it won't stop. Last year was just a warm up. Now let's get it popping. I'ma use hip hop to do things they didn't realize. Teach the next generation, you ain't gotta fear, guys. You the most powerful thing on planet Earth. Young black queen, young black king. Know your worth. I give it to them like they've never had it. I take it old school, I drop the DA, let's just too bad it. The flow grab them and stank bad like rank cabbage. I get to slapping this bad and rapping, you know what happens. I won't stop till it evens out. The best thing, the youngers is starting to believe it now.